Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where we teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between, including chibis, which are awesome. And this one I'll be showing you how to paint flesh tones on chibis. After last week's video, I was asked how would I paint flesh tones in a chibi fashion, semi-cartoonic, but just how would I do it? So I'm going to paint this police officer, once again from Impact Miniatures. Once again, I started by priming the model gray and then hit it with a white primer at a 45-degree angle. If you're going to go with one color, go with white. Chibis are meant to be colorful and bright, so I always start with a lighter primer. Now, to establish my deep shadows and the foundation of the skin tones, I'm going to use chestnut brown from Reaper. I'm only going to use 3 colors in this tutorial. And so, of course, I thinned down even more with some lamy medium, making it nice and thin, and that way we'll go on nice and thin, obscure the details. We're going to be using a layering approach. Next week's video, I'm going to actually show you how to do a similar skin tone using a different method that I was taught by a really awesome chibi painter. So, yeah, I'll just once again, just carefully painting on the chestnut brown, establishing the deep shadows and the foundation of the skin tones. As you can see, it's a very, very dark reddish brown. That's okay. It's gonna. As I said, the goal is just to establish the deep shadows, hit the foundation, and as you can see, it's going on nice and easy because we used such light primers, and that's the key when painting chibis. You really want them to be brighter and lighter, and as you can see by the end of this tutorial, his skin tone will actually be nice and very, very bright and a little bit animated. So there we go. Just carefully going around the miniature and painting a chestnut brown on the flesh tones. I'm just gonna do the face for today because I'm gonna be painting gloves on him anyway. So now I'm gonna add some fair shadow, once again from Reaper. So it'll be starting off with just using a very smooth blending technique, adding a little bit more fair shadow into the mix a little bit at a time and working my way up to until I'm using just fair shadow. So as you can see now, I'm going to leave the chestnut brown in the really, really deep recesses and then pretty much paint everything else using this combination. So I'm leaving just the very, very, like the under part of the chin, the edges with the hat and the hair, and pretty much everything else will be painted in using this chestnut brown to fair shadow. And then with each step, I'm going to work my way once again towards the center of the face, the cheeks, the tops, the ears, around the eyes, just bring it toward more central on the face. As you can see, I'm just leaving a little bit along the edges of the ear, that chestnut brown, everything else will be this combination. And very quickly, you can already see like this next color has already really brought it much more towards skin tones should be, and not as deep brown as the previous step. So now we're going to just once again keep adding more fair shadow into the mix. So I'm going to speed it up just a little bit so that way you can see it. Now once again, the areas I'm focusing on are the ridge of the nose, the very top part of the nose, and the cheeks, the tops, the ears. And that's really where I'm going to work my way towards when I'm painting this model. But with each step, I'm working my way farther away from the recesses and towards these areas. So with each step, as you can see, I'm going to build it so that eventually it's going to be almost like a white down the top of the nose and the cheekbones, almost a white, but it's going to be a very, very light skin tone. Once again, the tops of the ears, and then continue on. Now I'm just using fair shadow, top of the nose, top of the cheekbones, and work my way again away from the recesses and the edges. Fair shadow, and now I'm going to take fair highlight into the mix. So as you can see, I'm only using 3 colors in this entire tutorial, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So now I'm just once again focusing on the very tips of the nose. Again, I'm just going a little bit at a time. With each step, you're using less and less paint, and you're going to be using less and less on the miniature. So now I'm just building up. Now, as you can see, it is quite bright, but it will dry slightly darker. This is thinned down. Of course, I thinned down all my paints in this tutorial using lamy medium. So that way they're going nice and thin, and they're going to dry slightly darker and more blended in, which you will see in the end. So once again, adding a little bit more fair highlight into the mix and continuing on with this tutorial. And you can see it's really coming to life. What I love about chibi miniatures is that they have so much character to them. You know, they're cute, they're little, they have giant eyes, which I'll be showing in a future video as well. And if you use these approaches with your flesh tones, you'll really build up an animated, really a lot of character into that model, and that's what I really love about painting chibis so far. Is that they're just a cute little dude, and they have so much character to them. And then once again, just as you can see, just painting the tops of the ears, cheekbones, top of the nose, building way towards the center, but with each step farther and farther away from the edges and the recesses. And then finally, one more time, using just fair highlight on the very tip of the nose and along the very edges of the very edges of the cheeks, and then the tops of the ears. And once again, as I said, this will dry slightly darker and more blended, and that's what we're going for today, right? We want a nice blended appearance, a nice continuous gradient of colors, and he's really turning out nicely. And as you can see, I just continue a little further painting, starting with the hair and his hat. And here's what the face looks like. As you can see, it actually has quite a good amount. It has really nice skin tones, and it's nice and blended. And that's how I would paint flesh tones, Caucasian obviously, on a chibi miniature. So as always, thank you so much for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned a bit about painting miniatures, chibi faces, with flesh tones. Stay tuned for next week's episode, part 146, which is just around the corner. Leave comments in the comment section down below of what you want to see in future videos. I'll do my best to make sure every suggestion happens. So stay tuned for more videos. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.